Welcome back, everybody, to the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise. It is the Season 5 offseason, and what an offseason we have in store. Our Jaguars are coming off the first playoff season in the series. We went 9-8 for the second straight year, but did make it this time to the playoffs. We win our first game against the Raiders in dominant fashion. And then the Broncos end our season on what was essentially the last play of the game. They left us 4 seconds to answer. So our season is over. It was a great run. I'm really enjoying the series and everything that we've done in the franchise so far. It's been a very refreshing series and a fun overall experience. Now, I dropped this at the end of the previous episode. Eli Arrington had a scenario where he requested to finally be traded from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has been unhappy throughout this series. We've had so many scenarios, complaining about not getting the football, complaining about Trevor Lawrence. Arrington is one of the best young receivers in the series, but I intend to honor his trade request. I'm also curious what this press conference is all about. Let's talk about the next few months. So it's just kind of a generic off-season scenario then coming up here. I'm going to say that we're going to make a splash and upgrade the roster because we're going to have a lot of chances to do it, I think, this offseason. Any specific position? I'm just going to say overall talent. And if we make a big addition, I think it's going to be on the offensive side. I'll have to sign somebody that's at least an 85 overall, and I am imagining we either acquire or sign someone that would fit that. But yes, I intend to trade the dynamic and special Eli Arrington today. I've tried to incorporate storylines more and more into my series when they make sense. And it certainly makes sense for a guy who has demanded a trade and hasn't been happy basically since he got here. But he is a dynamic number 1 caliber receiver who does not get that workload that usually comes with that status. Now, if we're going to trade away a 25-year-old superstar player, it's going to take a lot in return. I'm not just going to accept a deal for a 31-year-old center. I need a lot back in return. I'm sorry about that, Mavs fans, if you're still Mavs fans. So to me, the story going into this offseason is, of course, trading away Eli Arrington. But also, we need to find a way to make a considerable upgrade to this team. Right now, we have no third-round pick. We do have 3 4s, though. I traded away some depth at the end of preseason. What do I think the value of Arrington is? I would say 2 first-round picks plus an asset that is equivalent to like a 3rd-round pick. Maybe it's like 2 first-round picks plus an 80 overall player. I think that would be a pretty fair return. And I'll attempt to trade him somewhere that can fit what he's looking for. He doesn't like income tax. We know that. He wants to play with a franchise quarterback, and he likes warm weather. That does narrow it down to only a few teams that fit perfectly. One of those being Dallas. And I don't know, I don't love the idea of giving Dallas a player of this caliber, knowing how overpowered they can become in Madden. I don't really want to help them out. But they're in the opposite conference. They could maybe give us a good return. Although it would be in conference, I also think Miami is a really good fit. Tua Tagovailoa is a franchise quarterback for probably 1 more year in the franchise. Warm weather, no income tax, and nobody above an 83 overall receiver there. They also own the 16th overall pick, which would not be a bad one to get. Cowboys, though, pick at 6. That's more valuable. But there are so many more players we have to think about today. Josh Hines-Allen is about to become a free agent, but his excellent year seems to have mitigated any of the regression concerns. He did not regress at all outside of his development trait. And at 32 years old, that's tough. That means that the price to keep him around hasn't gone down, but I don't think cap is going to be a huge roadblock for us for a little while. Next season is the contract year for Chuck Johnson, and a few other players have deals coming up as well that could start to squeeze a little bit. But for now, I think we can pretty much spend freely trying to put as much talent on this team as possible. I want to go slot here. I want tackling for Ezra Telfer. If his tackling doesn't improve a lot, I may have to put somebody else in the slot. It's awesome having him there, but he also does miss a fair amount of tackles, and not just the ones on the quarterback when he's blitzing, and he might just be too good to stay in the slot all the time. So the slot is definitely something I'm thinking even more about, just seeing the way his athleticism was used this year. All right, anybody take any of our coordinators yet? It doesn't appear so, and I've been developing our 2 coordinators, so no need to make changes. Both sides of the football are in pretty good spots right now. But let's get on to the offseason, everybody. If you are enjoying this series, please hit that subscribe button. Wow, that loads fast. And Josh Allen is not going back to the Bills. What is going on in this offseason? All right, player meeting time. Who are we having a discussion with? That's Trayvon Walker. My number 1 motivation should be more meaningful. Your motivation should be getting more than 5 sacks a season when you're paid like $25 million a year. You want to be close to home. Would you change that about me? I'm not sure I've ever told anyone to change yet. Would you change that about me? We have $101 million to spend this offseason. How are we going to use it? All right, so we're going to start off here. Tyson Campbell, we are not bringing him back. He regressed down to normal development. This isn't the reason why, but he did give up the game-winning touchdown in the division round to the Denver Broncos. But the big thing is he's 29, normal development now. We have young corners, and they need playing time. Curtis Easley. We know that he's a good tight end when he's on the field. He's 27 years old, won't be regressing here for a couple of years. But 79 injury has kept him from playing full seasons. And that was a huge part of what knocked us out of the postseason. We lost 3 star starters in the first half of that game. And I know that immediately is going to bring about some questions for some, like, is that slider too high? And I went through some stats when I was done recording, and I just don't think you can make that argument that it's too high. Sure, at that moment it felt like it was too high, but of the players who got hurt, Devin Lloyd being one of them, played all 17 games. Sergio Baxter played all 17. J.D. Short. So many of these starters played every single game, including Josh Hines-Allen, who suffered an injury in that game. So I don't think that the slider is actually out of hand. Sometimes players leave and come back, and it makes it seem like there are too many injuries. But overall, I do like that injuries have played more of a role in this series, and it forces me to get familiar with the rest of my roster, worry about the depth, and really be careful in those decisions, and allows players that wouldn't otherwise play to make an impact, and oftentimes they have a really positive impact, like we saw from Luke McCaffrey at different points of last season. The vast majority of my series have been rather unaffected by injuries, and I think it's good to have a series that feels different. That's wild, though. Where is Josh Allen going to go? I hope it's somewhere in the NFC. It'd be nice to have a little bit lighter competition at quarterback here in the conference. So we're not bringing back Tyson Campbell. Curtis Easley, really solid player, but I think I'd like to see what's available in free agency. It also happens to be a really good tight end class this year with a couple early round guys I have my eye on. Joey Harper, 5th-year option. And also seeing here that he's not that interested in re-signing. I like Joey Harper. Even if he's a holding machine and he gets hit for penalties every game, his ratings are, very balanced across the board, but it's not seeming like he wants to come back ultimately. Not until he recognizes Chuck Johnson as the franchise quarterback like the rest of us. With that being said, $20 million at tackle, that probably sounds like a ton for a 78 overall. I'm curious what veteran 78s are getting right now. Here's Mike Owenu. He's a veteran, and he's going to make around 19 this year. So that's a little bit of a premium for a 78 overall option, but it would allow us to not worry about replacing him for another extra year. In case you're not familiar how the 5th-year option works, it's only available for first-round picks, and after their 3rd season in the league, the team has the option to pick up a 5th year and tack it on to the end of that deal, because rookie contracts, just by default, all have 4-year contracts. It's only the first-round picks that have 5th-year options. That option is typically going to be a high-value number for that position, but it allows the team to keep that player for an extra season. So I am going to pick it up, but I would be willing to consider a trade of him next year. So also keep in mind, when you pick up this option, it doesn't affect the next year in your franchise. It's 2 years down the road. It's a very forward-thinking type of move for your franchise. All right, Josh Hines-Allen is still an elite player and was our best pass rusher this season. So I'm going to offer $58 million over the next 2 seasons to keep him around, and he takes the deal. Hopefully he doesn't regress heavily now after next season. Trey Tucker is solid, but I'd like to see who's out there in free agency this year. I don't end up re-signing many of these players under 75 overall now because they want contracts that I don't think we need to be paying, and if we wait longer, we can usually bring them back for a lot less. Vita Vea is down to a 79. That is pretty steep regression, I think 5 or 6 overall points, so we might want to look at a replacement defensive tackle. One of my philosophies, too, when it comes to trading superstars is that I would prefer deals don't just consist of picks. I feel like you need guaranteed value in return with a veteran player of some kind. So like how the Bears, when they did the deal that helped the Panthers get Bryce Young, they didn't just get a first-round pick, they got DJ Moore as well. And that's how I think superstar deals should be handled in the NFL. I'm going to try to overpay here to get Brandon Aubrey back. He wanted $7 million, but he's going to test. So definitely a lot of spots we could look to fill. Oh, I can just tag him for even less than he wanted. So franchise tag applied. I still think they should get rid of the franchise tag, but we're going to use it. Also keep in mind that I had to restructure a ton of contracts to make some things fit last year. So that's eating up a lot of our space. When I restructured those deals, I was taking cap money from last season, throwing it into this year, and now I don't have much rollover at all. If you go into the season with cap space, a lot of times you can roll over up to $35 million of that into the next year. Restructuring not only kept us from getting rollover, but it also made this year more expensive anyway. But if we trade Eli Arrington, we have a lot more space. So I'd really like to see who's out there now in free agency. We have $66 million. Sam Cosmi is available if we'd like to add a 90 overall guard. I am interested. Jalen Hurts has become available. And there is no Josh Allen, so the Bills must have applied the tag. They weren't actually going to let Josh Allen just walk away in free agency. He sees the Bills as underdogs right now, though. What happened to this Super Bowl window of theirs? The franchise tag, by the way, for Josh Allen is $77.9 million. So if we'd like to add an 85 overall starter, Sam Cosmi is going to be our best option. And if we're going to give up Arrington, we need to make a different area of this team a strength. And we need to get this offensive line even better. And I would love to bring him in. I'm curious where Jalen Hurts ends up, though. That could be a big move, especially if another good quarterback lines up in the AFC. Be nice if Byron Murphy had some more interest in us, but he doesn't like the scheme. We could go get Dontavian Wicks after he broke our hearts in the playoffs, and it really wouldn't be a bad option considering Trey Tucker's a free agent. We might have to add a couple playmakers this year, and he has a really good, well-rounded skill set. I think I'm going to offer. He has 2,000-yard seasons in this series as well. This just feels wrong, though. He ended our season. How do we do this? 2-year offer, though. Nobody's offered yet to Curtis Easley. Max Carr is available. There is Noah Fant as well, but Easley is the best tight end available. Checking out the comparison with Max Carr, who is 30 pounds heavier, but just as fast with one less acceleration. About the same receiving ability. Definitely a route running edge to Curtis Easley. And how about the injury rating? 83 for Max Carr. He hasn't played nearly as much, and he's been on 2 teams already. So I think I'd be interested in my game not freezing, because that's just like super annoying. I think my favorite route is to offer like a 1-year deal to a veteran and then also draft somebody. And I think I'd still prefer Easley, even with the injury concerns. Because Carr only has a little bit higher injury rating, and Easley has the edge in a couple other areas. So I'll throw out a 1-year offer. I just didn't like a 3-year. I don't know why it always thinks I've offered to 5 players when it's clearly 4. But we're going to see if we can get any new players now, and 3 decisions are made. We have signed guard Sam Cosmi, tight end Curtis Easley, and we bring in Dontavian Wicks. It was an easy decision. I love the coaching staff. Sam Cosmi, noted big fan of Nate Bell. Much better handling finesse than Dominic Pooney was. Just a different caliber of guard. So that does make Pooney expendable, as I think Trayvon Briscoe should stay at left guard. We can keep developing him. We drafted him a few years ago. He was a 2nd-round selection. So I'd be willing to take offers now on Dominic Pooney. He's still a very good starting caliber guard. Not the player he once was. I would like to bring in Daron Payne, but $12 million... that would be half of our remaining cap space. I don't know if we can pull that move off. Well, we probably can, but I think a different domino needs to fall here. And that's going to be the trade of Eli Arrington to see what we can really have to work with. I do want to take a look at the draft, because how valuable is it for us to move up? If I, for instance, want to trade with Dallas, who owns the 6th overall selection, is there a player there I'm excited to take? Or is the value between 6 and 16 perhaps a little flatter? So let's assume the top 5 is pretty much set. Then we have some tackles going in this range. Jackson Aiken right now projected to go to Dallas. If we think about like defensive tackle, wide receiver, we do have Carlos Ingram, who is going here at 12. Now, I didn't feel like the defensive tackles at the top of this class were like game-changing #1 players. Carlos Ingram, good power moves, good block shed. Definitely a good starter. I think he'd be a solid addition. If you're trying to think about the Vikings trading away Stephon Diggs and then just drafting Justin Jefferson, this receiver class, I don't think offers an easy opportunity like that. There are 4 players inside the top 40 at receiver. That's really not that many. And none have better than C catching right away. The route runnings for short aren't going to get any better than, well, I guess Kevin Parker could have B. Does have A medium route running, so there's something to like there. But I think we're seeing players that need a lot of development to become great starters. Kevin Parker does seem to be intriguing. Speed-wise, ran 4.42. Very good acceleration. If I knew he had B short route running, that would be a big positive. But catching traffic, those could have a lot of work to do if they're on the lower end of that range. I think Kevin Parker has to be an individual workout player. The top-ranked receiver is Theo Hanna. He's a deep threat from UCF at 5'10", 187. Ran 4.35. That is the fastest at the combine at receiver. A deep route running with C medium and C short and B release. Okay, he's legitimate then. With B catching traffic. There's a lot to like with Theo Hanna. So that's 2. How about Deontay Benson then? Iowa State's wide receiver. Ran 4.54. His speed is a good level lower than those guys. A deep route running though? I don't know if this I think with a couple years, he could develop into a starter then. But C short route running, D medium, C catching traffic, C catching, I think that's more of a 2nd-round project receiver than a 1st-round pick. And then we have Denario Knighton from the UCF Knights. He ran 4.42, had an all-around, very solid combine, above average. Knighton, good deep route running, poor catch in traffic, poor medium route running. There's just so much to work on. That's not a first-round skill set. So for me, you got Theo Hanna, Kevin Parker, those guys, the most intriguing. And then down here, our scouting gave us Kyrie Baldwin as a first to second round talent at 23 years old. He's from Oregon State, slot archetype. Finding slot archetypes that can do more than just short route running is tough. You have to develop everything else. And I don't want someone that just has to play the slot right away. So all these receivers are going to have things you have to work on. For Baldwin, it is the downfield route running and the release. He would have to basically start off in the slot, where he would have a chance to be pretty good. Good hands, catching traffic, important there when you're coming across the middle. Be short route running, be awareness. So Baldwin looks pretty solid. I think going through these players, though, my favorite has to be Theo Hanna. The fact that he's a deep threat that doesn't just have to be a deep threat. Maybe he could become a Brandon Cooks or Deshaun Jackson caliber deep threat instead of like a Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's really just the deep threat. And then we also have to take a look at the tight ends. I have the talent grade on Joe Virgil, Alabama's tight end. He's a round one player. What's the 40? 4.64. That's important. I check out these tight end 40 times because sometimes I'm a little surprised by the speed. So for 4.64, I'd anticipate mid-80s, not high 80s. Maybe 84, 85. But really good all-around skill set if we would like to start over at tight end. But F injury. Do we want to invest in another F injury tight end? Here's Thomas Ridley from Colorado. A deep route running for 6.40. A to B injury. I think that would have to push him up the board. But D to F short route running. It's nice to get those tight ends that can run routes right away. And at least he has A medium. I'm not sure why the short is so low. But sometimes you just hope the speed can take over instead of route running there on the underneath stuff. So I do like both tight ends quite a bit. They could end up both going in the first round. Defensive tackle is a spot where we could try to make an upgrade, but there are limited chances to actually do it, especially with Josh Applewhite actually being more of a mid-round talent. I like Lamar Boulware out of Alabama. 6'6" run stopper. That archetype doesn't have a lot of high-rated players right now in the class. 21 years old. Pretty good athlete. And one of the better blends of skills overall with B block shed, C finesse, and C power. And then I got a lot of information on the cornerbacks. Just because it's such a strong class, there were so many first to second round talents. I don't have actual talent grades. And I guess I'm not overall wowed by these skill sets. There aren't enough B grades even to get me interested in any particular player outside of Josh Virgil, who has the skills to be a top 10 pick. So where are those receivers landing then? Theo Hanna, top 5. That's disappointing. I liked his skill set a ton. Kevin Parker goes at 14. Deontay Benson, 15. I don't see us liking any receivers that go in the second half of the round. Joe Virgil at tight end going at 20. That's interesting because I like Ridley a little bit more, and he's projected to be our pick. Lamar Boulware also slides into the end of the round. The Chiefs just had Chris Jones retire, and Lamar Boulware would be as solid a replacement as you can find at 32nd overall. So I'm going to advance past this first stage. See if I don't know if we'll get any more scouting information, but I'd like to at least move on past this one and then evaluate trades. We also get mock draft 5. Have there been any changes then? As a matter of fact, Chargers no longer taking Theo Hanna. Hanna is now sliding to 11. Parker's still going 14. Tight end Joe Virgil at 20. Ridley up to 22. And us taking Darnell Russell. Second to third round receiver prospect. Deep threat from UCLA. So very fast. 4.4 and 4.39 40 times. Better acceleration than speed, even better change of direction, B release, B catching, A deep route running. I could see him developing into a pretty good receiver, but I don't think a first-round receiver. Jalen Hurts still has not made a decision. Usually the top-ranked guys make their decisions really quickly. I don't think I've seen a situation like this going into stage 2. But Jalen Johnson goes to the Jets, Byron Murphy to Dallas, Jamal Doolittle, defensive end, goes to Chicago. But I think it's time to finally see what we can do with Eli Arrington. If we trade him away, I mean, of course I'm not just going to take an offer here from this menu, but there are some ridiculous offers that are going to get thrown our way. Rome Odunze plus a first-round pick 2 years from now, so ignore the projected pick 6. Marvin Harrison Jr., a 3 and a 7. How about Dallas? They're offering Deron Bland and a host of late picks. I'm not sure based on what I'm seeing here that I would actually be able to get 2 first-round picks plus a mid-tier pick or player. Every team in the league has interest in Eli Arrington. I do think right now my favorite trade partner is Dallas. It gets us high enough in the draft to get a difference-making caliber player. For Miami to have the 16th pick, I just don't know if I can do as much with that one. But let's say I try to do what I said earlier. 2 ones plus a mid-round pick or player. Will Dallas make this deal? 2 first-round picks and this year's 3rd. For Eli Arrington, they say no. That is too much. And they don't like the idea of 2 first-round picks if it includes the 6th overall. What about number 6, the 3rd round pick, and a future 2nd? Dallas declines that offer, so that's about the same as 2 ones. So then it comes down to, what if I tried to trade the 16 and then work something out to maybe still get a player like Hannah? Would I be willing to take 16 if I could get 2 ones out of the deal? So this is the equivalent deal. I would be happy with this return. Let's see if this one works. I'm okay if they take this deal. 2 ones and pick 80. Miami declines, but we're close. Remember that Hannah is now projected to go at 11. So if I move to 16 and I really like him, I'd have to be willing to get to 10 or 11, which would cost me a decent bit in return. Someone else in this range that really pops off the board is Ryan Radovich from Auburn. Check this out. He is a linebacker. He ran 4.38 at his pro day. This is one of the fastest linebackers that I've come across, one of the best athletes. A zone coverage, A tackling, A awareness, A pursuit. It is not the most valuable position, but I think that the elite players, even at spots like safety, guard, linebacker, those guys make an impact just like other positions. And he actually looks like a blue chip linebacker. But that's at 13. What can we do at 16? I haven't really looked into the tackles, and I can't make a trade assuming a 60% tackle has everything I'm looking for. I think that's pretty risky. I would want a talent grade probably. Although I think there's enough here to say Braylon Collins is really good. But I don't think tackle is a target right now with this move. Defensive tackle isn't nearly strong enough. I don't think cornerback is strong enough. The best options here in this area that I like are Hannah, Radovich, and then the tight ends. I don't know that I'm trading up, though, to get a tight end in the first round. I think what's also something to keep in mind is that what if I traded for 16 and then I used a player like Dominic Pooney to help get from 16 to 10 or 11? The Steelers' number 2 need is right guard. That's what Dominic Pooney is. And they pick at 9, which would be a safe spot to try to move up to from 16. So I just want to gauge how much do the Steelers like Dominic Pooney? And I guess I can't even try this right now because the cap wouldn't work. Pooney does have a very large cap hit. I wish I could agree to take on the $3 million to make it fit. So, okay, forget about Pittsburgh right now. How about the Patriots then? They have their top need at right guard and all kinds of cap space. So they have to be interested then in Pooney. I know this won't work. I don't want it to work, but I want to see that they like him. Do I think Pooney plus 16 gets us to 10? If not, maybe I can close the gap in a way that doesn't use our most valuable picks. So, although it would be more ideal to trade Eli Arrington out of the conference, I want to trade him somewhere where his motivations line up. And I just don't want to move to 6 if that means I can't get 2 first-round picks. I would rather get 2 1s. So we just need to close this gap then. And we have made the deal, everybody. Eli Arrington is sent just down the road a ways from Jacksonville to Miami. We pair 2 4th-round picks with Eli Arrington, and we acquire a first-round pick at 16 overall, a 3rd-round pick at 90, and next year's first-round pick from the Miami Dolphins. A blockbuster deal has been made today. He immediately becomes the face of the Miami Dolphins. He replaces a now retired Tyreek Hill, and Arrington has everything he could want. And this should be a spot where he signs a long-term deal. So I didn't really use any specific trade as like a measuring stick like I tend to do in a lot of these situations. I just felt like I had the right idea in terms of value. So I think comparison-wise, Arrington is on the caliber of an A.J. Brown when he was dealt to the Eagles. Brown was traded for the 18th and 101st overall picks. We got more than that. And there was no way for them to get a receiver of that caliber in free agency or likely in the draft, picking at 16. And being that he's in the AFC still, there's a chance we could end up meeting him again, and more so a guarantee we end up meeting him at some point. We don't have our schedule yet for this year, but you can bet when that matchup happens, that is going to be an event. I might have to stream that game or something. So we now own 16, 26, 58, and 80, along with 2 first-round picks next year, which I would like to keep for next year to see how we want to tackle any challenges that season could bring us. One thing I kind of foresee is that we are good again. You know, maybe that's an assumption there, but what if we're really good, we pick in the 20s, we have to sign a player like Chuck Johnson, and then we're more cap-strapped because of what's happening with Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker getting older. Then those first-round picks allow us to move up and maybe find a young player that can be a replacement that we might not have access to picking in the 20s. So we have a lot more options for next season. But I kind of forgot the fact that we would not just have 16 this year, but an additional first to work with. Cap-wise, that did give us around $20 million in extra space. We have penalties this year we're paying, but now have a little bit more to play with. Now I can look to make some more veteran offers that won't push us to our limit, but definitely close. I was interested in Daron Payne earlier. I'm going to see if I could get him here, though, for far less, or just see who's available in the preseason, and those contracts are even more team-friendly. I'm offering a contract to Baker Mayfield to be a backup and mentor to Chuck Johnson. I've offered to 4 players and have signed Zach Bond, Daron Payne. Wow, he wanted 12 and I offered 6, and he took it. Baker Mayfield also joins. So those are the additions. We still have $6 million, and that's factoring in I've offered as well to Luke McCaffrey, who is still holding out. Jalen Hurts has been signed. He stays in the NFC and is now a New Orleans Saint. 2-year contract, though. That's weird. Maybe his market wasn't that great because he took a while to make his decision and only got a 2-year deal. I'm not sure if that's what the quarterbacks 30-plus are usually looking for in terms of years. Coming off a down season, touchdown to interception-wise. But $50 million still, which I don't think is really a raise from what he was getting before. Luke McCaffrey has signed his contract, and we're basically out of money now, so let's focus on the draft. So now we own 2 first-round picks. It's an exciting offseason, and we haven't even drafted a player yet. Wow, this is fun. So I do want talent grades on a couple players. Give me Theo Hanna. Get me what I can on linebacker Ryan Radovich. I'm also going to look for a talent grade here on Kevin Parker. I was really intrigued with his skill set, and I want to know that short route running if I can get it. Wait a minute. What does that say? The Panthers just traded for a quarterback? For the second straight year, they acquire a quarterback, and I don't think they're going to be sticking with Trevor Lawrence. The Saints trade Max Friedman in division at 24 years old. An award-winning quarterback moves to the Panthers. What a strange move for the former Offensive Rookie of the Year. That means the Trevor Lawrence era could be done in Carolina after a good year. Definitely a polarizing one with a lot of touchdowns and a lot of picks, but a playoff appearance and a playoff win. But they don't see him as a franchise quarterback. They see him as a bridge. And they now know what's on the opposite side of that bridge. Now let's see those individual workout results now. Talent grade on Radovich, top 5. Same is true for Theo Hanna. All right, so identified 2 players that do stand out from the rest. And we get a solid round 1 grade as well on Kevin Parker. So beginning with Parker, really good speed, probably closer to the combine than pro day, I would assume, if it's only labeled good. That's in the 3rd tier. Parker, B short, A medium, C release. I do think that I'd like better catching traffic and catching on day 1, but I guess if it was, he'd go in the top 10 picks. He's available in round 1 with a good skill set. Theo Hanna has top 5 talent, though. And we already knew he was excellent. I'm not sure this teaches us a whole lot about his skill set. Just tells us he's a top 5 player. And then Ryan Radovich, another top 5 talent and a really unique linebacker prospect who could absolutely be the face of a defense with this skill set. There aren't any holes in his game. And the mock drafts tell us they think Hanna goes 11, Radovich 13, Parker 14. And we're here at 16 and 26. Buckle up, everybody. Welcome to the NFL Draft, everybody. We have a big night in store. The Tennessee Titans pick number 1. We have picks at 16, 26, 58, and 80, along with 2 first-round picks for next season. And to get our targets, we might have to be willing to move up. I'm right now targeting the 10th overall pick as our first trade-up spot. Let's see how the draft unfolds. The Titans open and select Glenn Thomas, pass rusher. A awareness, A to C finesse, B power moves. Probably a big-time pass rusher for that defense. Javier Bernard is next to San Francisco. He has an A grade in finesse moves. Randall Hoover to the Falcons as pass rushers go 1, 2, 3. He is a power linebacker with good run-stopping skills. Tampa, no! What? Hanna goes at 4? Wow! And that just throws everything out the window. No way. I'm glad Mock Draft 5 doesn't give you all the answers. I don't want all the answers. But he was projected to go at 11 in Mock Draft 5. We are not landing Theo Hanna. I am shocked right now. Now I'm really scared. Where is Radovich going to go? He has top 5 talent. And what about Parker, who's supposed to go at 14? I'm simulating the Chargers pick. Bob Ford. Yes, keep taking pass rushers. Jackson Aiken goes to Dallas. Ryan Radovich goes at 7. Wow, that's really how it should have happened. 2 top 5 talents projected at 11 and 13 instead go at 4 and 7. Not even close. My initial plan was trade up to 10 to get Hanna and look at our options then to move up for Radovich at maybe 11 or 12. Virgil's going to go soon. He's a really good corner. He can't last long. Carlos Ingram probably goes pretty close to this spot as well. I think he's a really solid player, probably a borderline top 10 pick. But I know I need to get a receiver. And I have a few players here that I do like, but I think Kevin Parker is a good tier above the others on my board. I think he could step in and play immediately. I'm not sure he would be a star. Could we follow the Vikings' footsteps of trading away a star receiver and then selecting another that has the skill set to play in the slot, but there are questions about how much more he brings to the table as a downfield playmaker? I'd like to double up on receiver in this draft, and there's somebody else I haven't talked about yet. All the way down here, Reuben Ross is a 21-year-old prospect from Colorado. There are holes in his game, no doubt, but he looks like a solid athlete. I don't think that 4.38 was all that accurate, but a good athlete. With B route running, C short, run after catch skills, very developmental player. I'm not saying he's going to step in to replace Arrington, but he's a day 3 guy projected that has round 2 to 3 talent and is only 21 years old. Probably worth a pick. I still think my preferred trade-up option is around 10. We know we have something that the Patriots want. Josh Virgil goes as expected. And Corin Lowell, safety to the Steelers. We have a deal with the New England Patriots, sending them Dominic Pooney, swapping first-round picks, and we get a 4th-rounder in return after we gave up 4s in the Arrington deal to make that work. And we are now on the clock at pick 10. If I had an additional private workout, I would have liked to spend it on Carlos Ingram to know what his talent grade is. But you need offense. You have to score points to keep up in the AFC. And we are making our 1st-round pick. Wide receiver, Kevin Parker from Virginia Tech. Turning the card. 19 in true value. A receiver who has soft hands. He makes 50-50 balls look like 80-20 balls. He comes down with the toughest catches. And Kevin Parker has hit in development. Here is your Eli Arrington replacement. Good luck, Kevin. We now own the 26th overall selection, and I think we're going to want to move up with that one potentially. We have to see how the board falls now a bit. Quarterback to the Browns, Greg Stevens. This was not a great quarterback class. The Bills might have gotten a steal there in Carlos Ingram potentially. And Green Bay, after the receivers go ahead of them, they still take one in Deontay Benson. Joe Virgil off the clock. Of course, New England invests heavily into the tight end position. Because I think here in the 1st round now, I really like Thomas Ridley. Normally, 1st round is not a spot for me to look at tight end, but I mean, the skill set is undeniably great. Even with that short route running, as bad as that is, it's about the only thing we have to work on if we can get him. And we know how much Johnson likes throwing to the tight ends, so we need to have some playmakers there. And without Arrington, we need just more firepower in the offense. Not feeling as sure about where players will end up going is a really good feeling here, to have to attack the draft a lot more aggressively. I really enjoy this. Trey Benson would be an immediate starter for them, and he doesn't have a huge role on this team given Johnson and Cormier. In the past, I've shied away from including players in a lot of these draft day trades, but I think the trades I make with them at least end up being reasonable and give the team something they need. I'll even throw in a pick for them. And we have a deal. Trey Benson is headed to the Saints. And we have moved up, sacrificing a 4, and we're taking not 1, but 2 first-round playmakers today, as we will select tight end Thomas Ridley. Very reliable hands at the position and good speed for a tight end, but needs to refine his intermediate route running. He is the 36th ranked player in true value and was projected to go in the early 20s. He has normal development. And he has competition from his own team when it comes to winning Rookie of the Year. But with his skill set, I don't think I have to sweat the development. I'm only sweating getting short route running to a place where I'm happy. But everything else should allow him to make an immediate impact. We'll see how this one turns out. But what do you think of us moving up and selecting 2 playmakers in the first round? I really wanted to get Hannah and Radovich, but that is a combination that we were not going to be able to afford at those draft spots. So the offense has, of course, lost Eli Arrington, but we add an intriguing young receiver, an intriguing young tight end, and make an upgrade at right guard. Pairing up Hannah and Brian Thomas would have been pretty scary, but I'm still pretty hopeful about Kevin Parker and him becoming a really good day one contributor for us. So our next pick now is at 58. A lot of running backs are going here in the second round, and we're not targeting that position this season. No trades this time. We stick at 58. With this selection, I'm going to select defensive end Joseph Bowen, who I would like to move to defensive tackle. A, block shed with B, power moves. And the type of athleticism you expect from a defensive tackle and not a defensive end. So interested in, how these rank compared to the true defensive tackles that might have better block shedding. But this is a skill set I've been looking for a young defensive tackle. It's been tough to find. Bowen comes in 62nd in true value, so pretty much nailed it there. Good anchor, strong push, sheds block with ease. And he has hidden development. There's a big defensive addition. Let's go. I didn't have a lot of players on my board. I only put a handful on there. I've been looking through various players, but he was actually one that made the board. I'm happy with the way things are unfolding. Parker Austin went, and it kind of came down between Bowen and Austin, as he was a linebacker with a pretty good skill set, but I only had 60% info, and I've taken some linebackers with similar skill sets lately. Lavaris Frazier just went. He's a zone coverage safety that I thought was intriguing. Kyrie Baldwin, first-round talent slot receiver, so that's going to be a good spot for him. I am potentially interested in still taking another receiver. I believe I'm going to be able to wait a little bit on wide receiver. I'm going to add some more depth here on defense then. We lost a cornerback this year in Tyson Campbell. Jerrion Jones left, so I'm going to add Delonte Reddick. He has good speed. That's the main thing that stands out in his athleticism. And then C grades across the board. So not expecting this to be like a great selection, but I think that he has a chance to be a contributor. 135 though in true value. We'll see what this turns into. For a 7th round pick, we are moving up in the 4th. And this is where I'm going to take a receiver. He still might not go for a while, but I'm going to take Ruben Ross here. We know he has 2nd to 3rd round talent. And I just think he's an intriguing developmental option at wide receiver. Not ready to play right away, but someone who will be fun to watch in the preseason and has a skill set that I could see turning into something. And he's happy to be a Jacksonville Jaguar. Ruben Ross, 69 in true value. Secure hands with defenders in vicinity. Not a burner, but decent speed. And serviceable hands. Normal development. We could use a little depth at guard. We're adding some here in the 5th round. We select James Phelps. 292. All right, that's pretty low. They're booing him. Well, they might boo this one too, but I like safety DeAndre Barrett. 5'9", 212. Very unique build in the secondary. I see him, though, as like a slot corner potentially. Really good athlete. He has C tackling better than a lot of the safeties who are still out there. Yeah, they're cheering him on this time. DeAndre Barrett, better pick. Nate Bell is stoked to finally add another defensive back. And 126 in true value. Is that better? Normal development. Now we're going to select a fullback. This is Dominic Grenard, 21-year-old from Virginia Tech with elite speed and acceleration at the fullback position. He ran in the mid 4.6s. That could give him like low 80s speed at fullback. He can run with the ball in his hands, so maybe he's like a backup running back with B, run block. 85 in true value. How about that? Normal development, but 84 speed at fullback. Come on, we can work with that. And our final pick is going to be coverage linebacker Will Levy from West Virginia. He is ranked 261 in true value. Wow, what an offseason, everybody. We have a surprise retirement here, or a late retirement. Chidobe Awuzie retires from the Baltimore Ravens. Well, let's take a look at our rookies now. At least a couple are going to be really intriguing. 75 overall, Kevin Parker. 74, Thomas Ridley. 73, Joseph Bowen. Reuben Ross having 72 is really good to start out with. So let's go through the rookies one by one. Kevin Parker. Can he replace Eli Arrington? First, we got to fix those shoulder pads in the uniform. But Parker has great speed and acceleration. Spectacular catch is one of his best ratings. He has the skills to play in the slot and will develop into, I think, a very well-rounded receiver that can do a lot of the same things Arrington did. But how much of an impact will he bring to this offense? We'll find out. How do we like the number 3 for Kevin Parker? Maybe it'll look better when I change these shoulders, man. Much better with the tight jersey sleeves. We got to get the right cleats, too. I like these ones. But when players come in and they have, their bands and they clearly have, like, some accessories, I'm not going to edit them much. That's their look. We're going to let them stick with it. And then Thomas Ridley at tight end. How ready is he to contribute? Because his route running is absurdly low at 65 short. So the medium route running being a B didn't make that anything in the 70s. He definitely needs some development. As a first-round pick, I would like a bit higher, or at least, either better ratings or higher development. So we have to hope that route running can get better fast. But here's Joseph Bowen now. He is hidden development, and we're going to move him to defensive tackle. So he's going to move from a 73 overall end and now become a 75 overall defensive tackle. When you need D tackles, you got to keep an eye on those defensive ends to see if they could be better fits. 79 block shed, 70 power move. Now we have a young run stopper to develop. I think that's a great skill set. So if you think about just, switch around Bowen and Ridley. Imagine we take Parker and Bowen in the first, and then Ridley's taken, late second. Then it doesn't look so bad. Then I went a little bit off the board, taking Delonte Reddick, looking for some more depth and just hoping to find players that can, develop into something one day. Reddick has good speed, but needs a whole lot of work. But how about Reuben Ross? 72 overall, normal development. I knew he wasn't going to be the fastest guy. And I knew that he wasn't going to be, ready to play immediately. But maybe he's our kick returner and, a fourth receiver. We can get a look at him in preseason. He could be a totally different player in 2 years. And I'm giving him number 11. I like that. Dominic Grenard is the most intriguing of our final 4 selections. He could actually see early playing time, as we haven't had a true fullback. Grenard has 84 speed, 83 trucking. There's a chance he could get some looks as a depth running back, but, maybe not. 51 break tackle, 65 carrying. That might just be a fun thing to do in preseason. But if he ends up being a quality fullback, I could then add more formations that use a fullback, because he can catch the ball. He does have speed, and he can obviously block. So there's a use for him on this team. DeAndre Barrett is a 68. Let's check out his ratings, as I was looking for someone who could develop into a capable backup safety, and I think that he's a decent candidate for it. Yeah, I'm giving Grenard, how about, number 40. When I think of 40, I think of fullbacks, like Jim Kleinsasser. He's a little more dynamic, I think, here, Dominic Renard. But let's take a look at the players that we did not draft because they went so much earlier than I expected. First off, Ryan Radovich, 82 overall. Generational linebacker. I mean, it was plain and obvious that he was going to be very good. The Titans took Glenn Thomas at number 1, a player we're going to be meeting now. Number 96. He is ready to step in as a great edge rusher immediately with 88 finesse moves. There was literally a teardrop at pass rusher between picks 1 and 2. That's how good Glenn Thomas is. Theo Hanna went at number 4 to Tampa. Hidden development. Hanna has 96 speed, 96 acceleration, 84 deep route running. He is going to be so good. I'm going to change his number to, I'm going to give him number 1. When Hanna went at 4, I became very worried about where Radovich would go. He winds up in Washington. Highest ranked player in the class, I imagine. 91 speed, 85 awareness, 85 for a rookie, 89 tackling. His overall could be stuck at 82, and he would be an average starting linebacker. But he's not average, and he's going to develop and probably be the best linebacker in 3 to 4 years. That really had me scrambling. I traded up to 10, got Kevin Parker. Was happy to get him, though. He was my second receiver. I couldn't get the guy at 4, so what can you do? The Browns took a quarterback in Greg Stevens. Normal development, 74 overall. So they're going to need a great rookie year out of him. And with these ratings, I do think it's possible. I think he could step in and produce. The Packers ended up taking Deontay Benson at wide receiver, the third option, normal development. And his ratings are pretty good across the board. There's a lot to develop there. Carlos Ingram is only a 70. And I wasn't sure if he would be, maybe the better option when we traded up the first time. But I didn't have the talent grade. I knew I had to get a receiver. And that was the right call. 70 overall and normal dev. That is really disappointing. He could still be solid, but it's not what you're looking for in round 1. Joe Virgil is a 75. That's 1 overall higher than the tight end we took in Thomas Ridley. And Virgil has hidden development. He's also more injury prone with 78 injury. The Giants got Lamar Boulware, but we ended up still finding a good defensive tackle who had even higher ratings, so that worked out for us. These were the best picks in the first round. And the worst was a 68 overall corner going to Baltimore. In round 2, the best picks were at 76 and 75 overall. We got Joseph Bowen up there, so a good move for us. When some other teams, wow, Baltimore, this was a rough draft for them, I think. Man, Lavera's Frazier was even better than I expected at 74. Kyrie Baldwin, 74. Larry Moss, also 74. Baltimore took one of the lowest rated players in this round as well. So did we. I didn't have a great feel here in the third round, and I could have done better. I should have gone with Pat Stevens probably in this spot. Hidden development. Yeah, there were some linebackers that had some intrigue, but I've taken a couple, and I didn't want to take another one that had normal development because they would struggle to separate. Reuben Ross was one of the best picks of the fourth round. It was also one of the earliest. A 75 overall center in the fifth round is a really good find for Tampa. Darnell Mickens. Hidden dev, day 1 starter in round 5. There are some weaknesses. He's not a tremendous run blocker, but a good pass protector with day 1 starting skills in round 5. That's a win. Not sure he should wear Derek Brooks' number, but it's a win. You may also remember the Heisman Trophy winner this year was running back Denzel Black, and he went to the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. He does have hidden development. I didn't think his attribute grades were anything special, but power backs tend to be a little underwhelming. 99 break tackle. Wow. See, I'm over here seeing a lot of like B to C grades, when the ball carrier vision is on the lower side and 80 is spin move, change of direction, just a lot of bad grades pop up, it's hard to get a good read on power backs. And the league has let a really intriguing running back wind up in KC. 83 speed, though. He is slower than our fullback. But obviously, he is the better overall ball carrier. That's an awesome move for them. Man, this franchise is fun. I hope y'all enjoyed the offseason. We are not quite finished yet. But I love your thoughts down below on the moves I made, the picks I made, and what could have been done differently in the process. Chris Jones made it to the Hall of Fame. He's the only one that made it in. And I'm going to attend this press conference if you don't mind, because I did what I had to do. We brought in Sam Cosmi. Is this not the press conference? I'm addressing the team. Coach, you told reporters that you'd upgrade the offense. And I did that, Chuck. I feel like we did. Which position group? I don't like that they make it a quiz. Yours, quarterback. Offensive line. Ryan Clark said that you didn't do enough to upgrade the position. I signed a 90 overall guard. I wouldn't have clicked on it if I didn't have the right answer. But even when I'm right, I'm wrong. Let me guess. Because I haven't reordered the depth chart and Cosmi isn't listed as our starting right guard, they don't know that I signed him. We're going to sign some veterans now and bring back one that's been good when he's played, and that is safety Nick Cross. We are also going to sign edge rusher, formerly of the Vikings, Danielle Hunter, in year 15. We're also going to sign a player who's from Minnesota in Jermaine Johnson. Okay, I was looking for UDFAs, and I found a star development rookie in Dudley Alexander. That's the first time that's happened to me in this game. We're going to sign the fastest running back available in free agency to possibly get some carries in the preseason, Joey Howard. We're also bringing back Caleb Davis. Wow, what an offseason. We move on from the face of this offense, wide receiver Eli Arrington, granting him his trade request. We have attempted to replace him, and we'll see how these young players fare this year and how Chuck Johnson does without that dominant number one superstar. We still have Brian Thomas, who is a really good receiver, but he's only one player, and he's not on the level of Eli Arrington from a talent standpoint. So now this is a team with a pretty young offensive line, very young running backs, and some youth at receiver with a fourth-year quarterback. We need all position groups to step it up this year. And we also have to lean on a much-improved defense. Got Josh Hines-Allen here out of position, but it's still an excellent front four. The defense also moves on from Tyson Campbell, so now at cornerback, we need Stanley Billups to show that he can start. This season is a big audition for him to make an impact at 77 overall. Well, 78 when we fix the morale. So in a couple days, what do you say, everybody? We do another little preseason stream and take a look at the Jaguars' young players once again. Let's also take a quick look at our schedule for this year and if the Miami Dolphins are a part of it. We face the Steelers in the opener. Then the Jets, Seattle, Titans are the first division game. Going down the list, we will not face the Miami Dolphins in the regular season this year. But should we meet Eli Arrington again, that is going to be one heck of a reunion. An absolute event. But we're going to have to wait at the earliest this year's postseason. That's all for today, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the offseason. Leave your thoughts down below. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll catch you all in the preseason and year 5.